afternoon. My name is Gloria Chan and I work at Vijana Co. You're most welcome to our space. Welcome to our studio. Thank you for joining us, those who are here with us in person. I know we have an audience attending online. We have our team in Pakwach and in Mbale. You're also most welcome. We are glad to have you here. There's also a team joining us online on a Twitter space and on YouTube. You're very welcome to the second edition of our Leadership Talks. It's good to have you here today. Our Leadership Talks are an opportunity for us as young people to sit together, to listen to each other, to talk through certain key topics and key areas of interest for us, and for us to just get a lot more involved, to get engaged, to focus on what's important and how we can be part of this. You're welcome to today's session, and we'll be focusing on the importance of youth engagement and looking into alternative means of engagement. Our focus is on how more of us can just build the capacity to be better informed, to participate and engage in the different alternative means that we have at our disposal. We'll be learning and listening in from our guest speaker, Godwin Toko, who this is a very important and personal commitment that he has, and it's something that is very dear to him. His involvement, his engagement, and his participation as a young person using alternative means of expression and the freedom with which he does that. So just a breakdown of what today is also going to look like. Shortly after this, Godwin will be speaking to us, and thereafter we'll get to have an opportunity to ask him a few questions, and that will be led by Abigail Kalenda. Shortly after that, we'll get to hear questions from those who are attending physically and also those joining us online. And then after that, we'll be able to, pick up a few learnings and then close the day. Thank you for joining once again and for making it on time. You're welcome. We will just get started. Thank you. Godwin, you're most welcome.
Okay, I'm really grateful for Vijana Co that you reached out and invited me for this session of the talk. I was told that I have about 20 minutes of speaking first before we go to the other engagements. So let me begin by telling you a story. When you're going to where I come from in West Nile, you pass by a game park called Murchison Falls National Park. When I was young, about 3 years, there was a time we were passing there, and then our car broke down. When our car broke down, we saw some antelopes. They were having a conference like this. Some were sitting on chairs, and one was talking. Some had come from far, some had come from near. So these antelopes were having a conversation. Okay, let me pause at that point. Do you think that can happen? Can antelopes sit like this and have this conversation? They can't. Communication is a very important aspect for the survival, for the life, and everything about human beings. If you read Professor Yuval Noah, he has argued severally that the reason human beings, conquered this planet, because we are not the only creatures on this earth. There are lions, there are antelopes, many of those, the elephants, the tigers, they're even stronger than us. If they put 2 tigers here, they would defeat us in terms of strength. But we can cage them. We can put them in a cage. We can put them in zoos. We can put them in game parks. Because we humans have a unique feature, and that is communication. I will say this. I hadn't met very many of you today. But you trusted that if you called me via phone call, I would come and would have this conversation. What I'm trying to say is that communication is a very, very important aspect of humanity's survival and its conquering and ruling of the planet as we know it today. Now, the ordinary mode of communication is the old, that I come and we talk like this, we sit down and talk, but increasingly, because of the superiority of human beings, we've learned other modes of communication. Now, many times when we communicate, there are people, there are systems, there are circumstances when the communication offends, and it's not necessarily because it's offensive in the ordinary use of that word. It offends other people, or it offends other systems, or it offends the government, or it offends someone who is doing wrong and doesn't want to be exposed. Now, because of that, we evolve and get other means of communication. There is a South African music legend called Brenda Fassie. How many of you know Brenda Fassie? By show of hands. Oh, quite a number. Brenda Fassie has a song called I Miss You Maneno. Now, I listened to her speak once and she said that song was sung in the 80s. Brenda Fassie is from South Africa. If you remember South Africa in the 80s, there was apartheid. So some names, some words were banned, even in music. One of those names was Mandela. You couldn't sing a song and say Mandela in a song. Now, she had a song and she still wanted to put the message across that Mandela is incarcerated. We are missing him as the black South Africans. We want Mandela. Maneno as if it's Mandela. I miss you, Mandela. Where are you? Yeah. So what we are saying basically is that because of the importance of communication, even as a form of protest, people always find alternatives to it. So music has been, and I'm going to talk about three things today: music, art, and social media. Music has been an integral part of humanity's communication. In Nigeria, you had Fela Kuti fighting almost an entire government with music. You had people like Bob Marley in the past singing songs against racism, against oppression. People like Peter Tosh. I'm mentioning reggae artists against oppression. People like Peter Tosh. I'm mentioning reggae artists because I'm a big fan of reggae music. Then, even in Uganda, you had people singing songs. There was a gentleman called Nsubuga, I forget his other name, in the 60s. He kept singing songs, and some of these songs seemed like they have messages against the government. There was one particular song that said, Enjala a good day. Yeah? Now, Buganda is one of the most fertile parts of this country. It's unheard of to feel like there can ever be hunger in Buganda, or starvation, or a drought in Buganda. It's not easy. But he sang that song, I think, in 1966. Now, what happened in 1966 was that the Kabaka had been sent to exile by the Obote administration, or Obote government. Because he wanted to protest, he said, Enjala a good day. For those who paid attention, they realized that the message was not about drought, because Buganda wasn't experiencing drought. Buganda has, as far as I can actually think and remember, not had drought in the recent past, or let's say if you went back even to 100 years. But the message was put across for those that wanted to know it. The other thing is art. People protest, people communicate through art. So many times when communication is curtailed, let me give you an example. There's a gentleman called Ogon. Who knows Ogon? What does he do? Ogon is a cartoonist. Who knows Mr. Ras? Mr. Ras is another cartoonist. Who knows Dr. Spire Sentongo? Spire is quite popular. Everyone seems to know Spire. So, sometimes they draw cartoons and you think, if he had written this as an article, or if he had gone to TV and said the things he has said through this cartoon, I think he would be in great trouble. But it's a smart way of using art to communicate, even if the message is not necessarily accepted, appreciated by the other side. And you see, when I talk about oppression, when I talk about messages not being appreciated, it's not just about government. Yeah? You may be living in a society where women are not allowed to say certain things. And then you choose to say them through music or through art. But the message is sent to the people that you want the message to reach. Finally, let's talk about social media. And I think that's going to be the gist of our discussion. Social media is a relatively new phenomenon. Uh, Facebook was founded in about 2005. And it became a hit around the world, say from about 2010. That's when it was picking up. 2010, they are getting serious. Same with Twitter. WhatsApp is a more recent innovation. Instagram, even more recent. Now, with the time, people have learned to use social media as a tool, first, of communication. Because like I said, communication is such an integral part of humanity's survival that we can't do away with. We can't do without it. We must always find a way to communicate. I've seen so many protests organized on social media that have nothing to do with government. People have organized, who remembers the Me Too movement? Anyone remembers the Me Too movement? In the US? Yeah, someone at least does. Where Hollywood actresses exposed the excesses in Hollywood, where actors were taking advantage of them, sexually assaulting them, sexually exploiting them, and using their power, their influence to abuse these helpless ladies. So social media, the campaign, #MeToo, ran a very serious campaign. And people were brought to justice. To this day, I think Weinstein is still in jail. Yet he was one of the main people that were accused of these abuses. Let's come to Africa. Start with the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring, okay, let's say it's the Middle East. But Middle East, also some of the countries are in Africa. So when you're talking about Egypt, you're talking about Libya, you're talking about Tunisia, you're talking about Algeria. Those are countries, even Sudan. There was some bit of noise in Sudan. Those are countries within Africa. Activists mobilized. This time it was political. They mobilized against their government and said, we need to change these governments. So I'll use one example. You look at Hosni Mubarak. Hosni Mubarak had been the president of Egypt since 1980s. I'm not specific of the year, but the 1980s. He led such a very, very brutal regime, and there were plans that his son would take over. His son was called Gamal Mubarak. Gamal was almost about to take over. But the country was in a downward spiral. The economy was doing bad. The political questions were mounting. The social issues. So whenever you have these things, they move hand in hand. Politics will affect the economy will affect the social aspects of life. Now, because of that, people organized after they saw what happened in Tunisia, where a gentleman called Bouaziz, I forget his other name, set himself on fire because his merchandise had been confiscated. He was a graduate who was trying to make amends by selling vegetables. A female police officer slapped him and confiscated the vegetables, so he set himself on fire. Now, the Egyptians were following, and then they used social media to communicate to one another, this time to say, we need to change the government. So they organized and filled the Tahrir Square, and the presidency, strong as it was, powerful as it was, stood no chance against them. Eventually, the government was changed. More recently, must have been last year or last year but one, the Nigerians had the End SARS campaign. Who followed the End SARS campaign? Anyone? By the show of hands. SARS was a more brutal branch of the Nigerian police force, accused of some of the most heinous crimes. People said they would find you with bling bling, chains, and say you were Yahoo boy. Now, Yahoo are the Nigerian scammers who use internet to scam people. Of course, that is a crime. But anyone wearing a chain does not necessarily mean that they belong to them. Or they would find you with a Mercedes-Benz and say, you look young. Why are you driving a Mercedes-Benz? Yeah? Many times it was their way of giving themselves your Mercedes-Benz, but sometimes they would kill you first to get that. So this was more like state-sponsored violence against the young people in Nigeria. So they took off with the End SARS campaign. It was a hit. From Nigerian football stars, like at that time, are there Man U supporters here? Manchester United? I don't want to ask Arsenal. I think you're still nursing the heartbreak. So there was Ogalo. Was it Ogalo? The Man U footballer by that time, Nigerian-born Man U footballer, who put out a message. Strong, world-renowned artists like Burna Boy, Davido. The Nigerians always accuse Wizkid of not being cautious in these things, of not participating in protests. But Burna Boy, Davido, any Nigerian artist I think you can think of was in the thick of this protest. So they pushed so hard. And the difference with this is that they were not necessarily calling for a change of government. They were calling for disbanding of a branch of the police called SARS. The protest went on for days, like these things always do. The government, first of all, seems very entrenched and very strong. So it went on for days and days and days. Eventually, the government had no chance but to disband SARS. SARS exists no more. It's in the, how do they call it? It's now a thing in the past. It's in history. That's why you read about it. Let's come to Uganda. I didn't know social media was a big thing in Uganda until last year. Yeah? So last year, for my undergrad, I went to Makerere University. I studied there between 2014 and 2018. Then I went to LDC 2019. So by the fact that I studied at Makerere makes me a member of the Makerere University Convocation. The Convocation is like the old students' association for the university. So once, I think in 5 years, they organize elections to fill the positions of the Convocation. I am a civically cautious citizen. When the elections that I must participate in, I will invest my time and effort to go and vote. Many times the elections are rigged, but that is not my part. My part is to vote. I vote hoping they are not rigged. If they are rigged, that is on the rigger. So on the day that Makerere happened to organize these elections, which happened to be the 30th of December, I left my home in the morning and went to Makerere University looking very smart. Smart in jeans. Do you be smart in jeans? But I went to Makerere to vote. So, as with most elections, emotions ran high. Emotions ran high. They are rigging, they are cheating, accusations, back and forth. And as is the norm now in Uganda, even when two border men are quarreling, you're likely to find there a policeman with a gun or a soldier or soldiers. From the minute I got at Makerere, there was heavy military and police presence. So, but still, the police say they are there to keep law and order, to secure your safety. So I had no problem with them. And I go to the hall where the election was being conducted. And because people were making noise, it didn't take long before the police were invited in, and with the police came the military. Now, the military that came in was the military police. So they started dragging people out, using the most sort of brute force that you can think about. One gentleman was being dragged up, and then he held the legs of a police officer. The police officer almost toppled over. Thank God he didn't. I don't know how it would have ended. So in that chaos, I approached the DPC of Wandegeya, who I think was commanding the operation, said, you people, you don't have to use this kind of force. This is an enclosed space. If someone is here, it means you've cornered them. If you have these guns, you have this ammunition, it means you can take them out with less force. They say people who have who don't trust their ego, who have small self-esteem, hate to be corrected. I'm not saying that's true of the police officer that day. But what happened is that they ordered that I get arrested instead. So I was arrested. 30th of December. What time is it now? About 3. I was arrested at around this time. About 3. Put in a drone with another colleague who was arrested. The other colleague was so fearful. He started crying at that point, officer, officer. And I was thinking, oh, this is real. Fortunately, I had been arrested before, but that's a story for another day. That was the 4th time I was getting arrested. Under similar circumstances, student strike and all. So we're taken in a drone, yeah, and driven to Wandegeya police station. Take off your shoes, take off your belt, take off your watches, take off everything. You know how the police system operates. You don't check in to the police like you check into a hotel. You're pushed into the cell. So we're pushed into the cell. Now, what I didn't know is that someone captured my arrest. Yeah, someone, and I can say the name. That was the Anjura Doreen, the deputy Lord Mayor. She's my friend. So she captured the process of me being arrested. And then shared the video on Twitter. Now, people are saying, but wait, this young man simply said, don't use force. Why is this young man arrested? And people could see that actually there was force. The videos that came before showed the police were using unnecessary force to enforce a mandate that probably they have. The police keep law and order, but even though keeping law and order, there are confines within which you must play your role. So when Nyandula shared the video, it went viral. People were like, how do you arrest someone like this for saying this? So there was a hashtag, free Toko. Some friends, some people I thought were my enemies, some people I don't even know. When I checked later, were all on the hashtag, free Toko, free Toko, free Toko. Several tweets went up. Now, so I'm telling you about how I realized that social media is a big thing. The next day, when you sleep in the police cell, remember the next day was 31st. So there was a risk that we were going to celebrate the new year. The new year with a lot of bed bugs as neighbors. So at this point in time, that was the fear that we're going to spend it. Now the next day, some guys didn't even sleep. Me, I slept. I was like, anyway, if you're arrested, you make comfort with what you have. So when we woke up in the morning, there were so many people at the police station. Among them were senior officers, not even from Wandegia, who would come in and ask, who is Toko? They singled out my name each time. So I would go back and sit in the cell. Then they come and say, who is Toko? And then, of course, you come. You know the door of the cell, those frames. Then they're like, you're the one. Then I'm like, yes, I'm the one. Okay, you go back. Then you'd go back. What I realized was that there was pressure. There were even phone calls from up. Some senior officers probably saw the video and said, this man shouldn't be in jail. So they were calling the Wandegia guys and saying, why did you arrest this guy? So Twitter, I won't say Twitter was blowing. I'm not that much of a celebrity. But there was a lot of noise on Twitter to some extent. And they couldn't escape it. Now, because the arrest happened at an election, people began saying, these guys were just organizing an election and all that. So the police were kind of some form of pressure to let me out. And eventually, that's how I was released. I learned from that day that when people choose to tweet and not go on the street, when someone is looking for medication, let me say like someone is sick and they need how much? $5,000 for surgery. And then someone says, okay, me, I don't have money to give you, but I'm going to tweet. Please respect them. Or I'm going to Facebook. Please respect them. Because these tools of communication have reached such a level, even in our third world country, that they reach such a huge audience and people pick the message from them and use it. So let's now move to our topic of discussion. Social media as an alternative form of communication. I'll make it about social media now. We need to utilize social media as this tool as much as we can. Why? Because the other spaces are getting less, we're getting less accepted in their spaces. The spaces are shrinking. I have just seen a video of some university students, I think it's on the Daily Monitor socials. They're saying that students were demonstrating and thanking the speaker and the president for passing the Anti-Homosexuality Act. So there are hordes of students from different universities going to parliament. There are times there were students who are supporting ECOP. Now, unless your protests are the kind that the government of Uganda agrees with, the state agrees with, most times they think they're actually orchestrated by the state, organized, sponsored by the state, you wouldn't go far. If we stepped out now, all of us here, we are how many people here? 30. If we stepped out and said, we need no more potholes on the roads in Mukono, do you think we'd walk for a kilometer? 500 meters? Yeah? It's like the police would act really swiftly and stop us. But if we've learned anything over the last few weeks, Dr. Spire Sentongo ran a whole campaign, and I can assure you that campaign irritated so many people at the highest levels of this country. They were so angry, they were so mad, they wish it never happened. They probably wish they could hack Spire's Twitter, yeah, and delete the account and erase him from Twitter. But of course they wouldn't do that. They couldn't do that. They would, but they couldn't do that. So they probably wished for that, but they couldn't. Yet the campaigns were so successful. When he started the pothole exhibition, it went wide, it blew up. Everybody seemed to know a pothole near them. So they took a photo. They took a photo. There was a gentleman who went to industrial area with his beach chair, some liquor. I envied him. The funny thing is that I was at office with a lot of work to do. Then I looked on Twitter and this man was chilling here fishing. Eh? So everyone seemed to have a story and they came and told it. To the point that I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. That campaign was supposed to last a week up to Sunday. Before it could last a week, the president released the 6 billion and said, okay, fix the potholes. Yeah? It's possible that if we had gone on the streets physically, he would never release that money. In fact, would we go there? The police would stop us as soon as we conceived the idea. Next was the health exhibition, which again I think was very, very successful. People shared their stories. For the health exhibition and the security exhibition that ended last week, I was fortunate enough to participate from I was more into them. I was part of the campaigners at this point. What Council Semakade would call, would say, you had salt earth credibility. Like you were a participant to the extent that you knew this thing, you were a sort of driver. Now, for those ones, I still think we scored. Because you now see that the Ministry of Health, even when they didn't issue a communique, are trying to show that we're now doing certain things. When they show you photos and say we're now building Hoima Referral Hospital, it doesn't matter if they had been in the process. It just shows that now they're perhaps taking it more seriously. The youth in Uganda face so many issues. Forget the politics. The politics is the epitome of the challenges we face. But there's so many other issues. And unemployment. When I was at LDC, people formed cliques and cocoons. You'd find like the LDC UCU Students Association, the LDC IUIU Students Association, the LDC Bishop Stewart Students Association. And there was some kind of friction between these associations. People would keep within their groups. They didn't want to. And then I told guys that, people, we are all Ugandan young people. We're all going to face the same problem. It doesn't matter if you're into Makerere. It doesn't matter if you're into UCU. We are going to step out there and there are no jobs. We are going to step out there and your employer is going to want to pay you who is a lawyer, having spent 4 years at Makerere or UCU or IUIU, wherever, and another year at LDC. They're going to try to pay you 400,000, which of course can't even get you a good house if you're talking about rent, or good suits that you must wear to work in those farms. So I was telling them it's time that we broke these barriers and saw ourselves as a group that has the same problems. So I want to beseech you, I want to call to inform you guys that please, you could use social media to address some of these challenges that we're now facing. Yeah? I see some ladies here. Unfortunately, this country still remains a very, very unsafe space for ladies. If you want to dispute that, just look at the annual crime report of the police. One of the worst, if not the worst, offenses ever in this country is rape and defilement. I work with an organization that takes me to prisons once in a while to offer legal aid. If you move to any prison, last year but one, I went as far as Girigiri Prison in Arua, Gulu Central Prison. I've been to Muinaina Prison, and Movende Central Prison, and Luzira Prison, all these prisons. Many times, when you talk to prisoners, if you talk to 10 of the convicts, probably 6, 7 are there on sexual offenses. Rape, defilement. The challenge for us as young people here is, how do we use social media to bring these figures down? How do we use this social media platform to ensure that there are more jobs? How do we use social media to hold our government to account on things like the girl skilling program and say, how much is this achieving? Let me say this. The government of Uganda actually takes social media seriously, to your surprise, to my surprise. The president literally fired a former IGP and I think a minister of defense on Twitter. Tweeted out their firing. When you have a problem like Somalia, the president comes and tweets it, says, my communique is here. That means he knows how far this information is willing, it can go. Now, let's use these same platforms to communicate to the government. You may be NRM, you may be NUP, or you may be like me. Me, I'm a Rasta, and Rastas don't have political parties. So I don't belong to any of the political parties in this country, and I mean that when I say it, I'm not making fun. If there are challenges like unemployment, if there are challenges like my sisters, my girlfriend, my classmates, my friends at risk of being raped and defiled, that's a challenge that I face. That's a challenge that the NRM people face. That's a challenge that our brothers in NUP face. We need to use these platforms to address, to have conversations like the one we are having, to ensure that we bring more people on board, put our messages across, and I'm very happy for Vijana that they're using this already. They're giving us the blueprint. They're showing us the way to go, and I hope we are able to follow. With that, I end the first of these sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Godwin, for that wonderful session for us to just get to hear from you, your experiences, your stories, and what the journey of using social media as a tool of engagement has been. I hope as you were listening in, you got points where you would just take note of for us here to get to just to hear a lot more about Godwin's experience and the use of different media tools as a means of engagement. And through that, we'll get to just hear a lot more about him and from him. That will be led by Abigail Kalenda, who will just get to steer that conversation and keep us going. I hope we are enjoying the rhythm of how this is going and how he also involved us and we had opportunity to chip into the conversation. Let's continue this. Those who are online, just keep commenting any questions. Just keep joining and inviting people in to join us for this conversation. Thank you. Over to you, Abigail.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Welcome to yet another episode of Leadership Talks. I'm Kalenda Abigail, and I'll be the moderator for the day. With me is Godwin Toko. Godwin is an enthusiastic lawyer. He's a lover of books. He loves books so much. He's a writer, and he's a human rights advocate as well. Godwin, please introduce yourself briefly before we go through.
Yeah, my name is Godwin Toko. I am whatever you've said I am. And also a Rasta. That means I live, people say Rasta is a religion. Rastafari is not a religion. It's a way of life. I live by that way of life, which means respect for other human beings, respect for nature, and living a life that can give you as much peace as possible. I work with an organization called GLIS. GLIS is the Great Lakes Institute for Strategic Studies. I work with a couple of other organizations as well, which I wouldn't want to say for now, because I didn't ask my bosses. I should say that I work with them. But what I'm saying is that in this Uganda of today, a young person needs like 7 jobs to survive. So I am trying to get there.
Thank you very much, Godwin. Earlier on, you had shared about how you arrested last year in December. I was lucky enough to come across the video of your arrest, and I also joined the hashtag of Free Godwin Toko. Though I really didn't know you, but given the fact that very many people were talking about it and the brutal arrest and how social media was able to get you out in one day. And some people were writing and they're like, that's one lucky person one day, but because of the power of social media, we were able to get out. And also with the recent exhibition by John Spy and Uganda, the security exhibition that you're spearheading,
yes,
we get to find that they have been very, very impactful.
Yeah.
So what other alternative means do you see gaining popularity in Uganda, and how can the youth use them to be able to advocate for their rights?
I think it all depends on what is going to be communicated. Because, like I said, there are protests, there are demonstrations that still happen in this country. It depends on what the demonstration is about, who has organized it, and who has authorized it. There was a group of young people last year, I think, who demonstrated against American sanctions, and they moved from, I think, Makerere and went as far as the American embassy. So, if we have a conversation If we have to demonstrate about portals, we wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll reach over there. When we come together, we need to look at what are we going to talk about. Then we can find the platform. And also, who do we want to reach? So, social media is giving us this chance that we can reach many people that we have never even met. But if we are going to have a conversation of young activists talking about mental health, maybe then we can have a fireplace conversation. Sit somewhere and say there's a fire in the middle, we are drinking water, and we have the conversation. Yeah? That conversation is alternative in the sense that it's not that common to find people having it nowadays. Though that was where Africans had conversations in the past. Our great grannies came together and educated us. They passed on the ancient wisdom through such engagements. We could also explore things like writing. As far as I know, we can still write even in the newspapers today. And even when the message is really sour, many times, some newspapers will allow it to run. So you could look at that as well.
Thank you very much. Earlier on you said that it depends on the people that you're reaching out to, and that is for the target audience. So when you're reaching out to a particular target audience, how do you think you can effectively address the barriers that prevent youth from participating in this kind of engagement?
I think again it depends on the barriers. Because the barriers cannot be the same for each and every conversation you're going to have. So let's say social media. We are going to run a campaign on menstrual hygiene. Yeah, to get our leaders to say that we are going to ensure that schools have facilities to ensure that girl children who are attending these schools don't suffer from, it's called menstrual poverty, things that would stop them from going to school. So if that is the kind of campaign, we can probably bring in a hybrid and say, not everyone is on social media. Who is not on social media? Let's say the child who is 14, 15, and is attending Navy SS or Navy Primary School, or is attending Mukono, some school in Mukono in the village. How can we organize ourselves in such a way that that girl who is not participating online is as much engaged in this conversation physically in her school? Perhaps we reach out to her if she's our target audience in that school, but then we know that the conversation we're having online, our target audience is the president, our target audience is the speaker, the prime minister, the minister of education, and then these ones listen. So we can take a multi-pronged approach and still get our message out there.
Okay, thank you once again. So looking at social media, as you had mentioned earlier on, being the main form of engagement that is taking course in the current place. What role does it play? Like we've seen it earlier on, it had an effect on your arrest. Simply people going on Twitter, because I majorly saw it on Twitter, though few people had write-ups, but mostly on Twitter. And the same thing with the road exhibition as well as the health exhibition. You get to find that there's been commitment by very many leaders to curb on these issues. So what role does technology play in facilitating the alternative means of engagement?
I think we use it in such a way that we express our frustrations, we express dissent, we express, so the opposite of that, appreciation, we express our agreement, because if leaders did well and we praised them on social media, we are reaching out to them. I mean, not all the time are we going to disagree with everybody. The many times when you have to say, you have to give credit where it's due. Say, like the 6 billion the president released, it was not a lot of money, but that was a step in the right direction. It was better than nothing, or it was better than 5 million, or even 5 billion. So basically, given that, if you notice nowadays, even a lot of mainstream news start on social media. Many times you're likely to first get news on social media. I'll give you a more weird example. There's a musician in Uganda that I like. It's called Elian Skin. I like him because he's ever smiling. The guy looks so jovial. I just like people who are ever smiling, who ever seem to be living in the moment and they seems not to have any problem. So when there was that video of him being beaten by another musician, you're likely to find that video first of all on social media. Yeah. So that means that a lot of even the news that is later reported by the mainstream media starts on social media. Twitter particularly is getting ahead of that even more seriously. There was a very, very, can I call him controversial? Let me not call him controversial. There was a very popular Fox News. People know Fox News, right? The American TV news. The conservative American TV news called Fox News. A very, very popular presenter called Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson has a program called Tucker Carlson Tonight. I think about a month or 2 months back, he was fired by Fox News. We don't know why. Everyone seems cagey on that. We'll know with time, of course. But he has since taken his videos to Twitter. He says, now the program that I used to host on TV, I'm going to begin hosting it on Twitter. I'll upload the video. His video normally is about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, talking about something that's happening in the news, in the conservative sense. Another man that was doing that was called, is called Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is another American conservative. He talks about things like transgender, blah, 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 black lives, stuff like that. And he's a very conservative American, white American. Even him, when he was using YouTube, YouTube decided to demonetize him. That means he no longer makes money off YouTube because of some comments that he made. So they asked him to apologize and refused to apologize. Even him now, he has moved to Twitter. Now, it's becoming a platform like Elon Musk said at first that we need a global village where we can all come and share our opinions like we are doing here. I'm sure that we could have had this conversation on Twitter Space. In fact, there's a conversation on Twitter Spaces right now, and there's a number of people tuned in. So the idea of these spaces is that you're reaching out not only to the person in my village, say like in a village like Chana Mukaka, who doesn't have a smartphone, but you can rest assured that if you had a serious campaign like the Porthole exhibition, it will get to the president, to get to the prime minister, to get to the speaker. So if you're going to impact and improve health, I asked people the other day, I said the other day that I don't know the last time I went to a government hospital. Yeah? And it's not like I'm bragging. I'm just saying it. That I'm fortunate enough that one of my employers gives me a medical insurance card. When I feel sick like I did yesterday, there's a long list of private hospitals that offer better services. I'll walk there, even without money. So the medical insurance will take care of it. But again, if there's a health exhibition in Uganda, and I said, that's not my problem, it would be hypocrisy. Because how many Ugandans have medical insurance? Maybe like 10%, 2%, 5%. So if you live in a society like this, and you get engaged in these campaigns, many times it's not just about you, it's because you want better for society. And in that sense, we need to engage these leaders to ensure that they play their role, to ensure that they use the money they collect from taxes well, and better the lives of Ugandans.
Earlier on, you had given an example of Tucker Carlson and how he was banned from Fox News.
Yes.
But he was able to take his conversation to Twitter.
Yes.
So you get to find that most youth use these social media spaces wrongly for their own motives. So how can you advise them to effectively use it to engage the aligned stakeholders in their different capacities, other than using their...
I guess it's like a gun. Because a gun can be used to protect, it can be used to kill. Yeah? Or like a car. You can use your car to drive from here and then drive where? To Ginger and say, let me drown in the river. But you can also use your car and say, there's a lady who needs medication. You drive and take her to the nearest hospital. So it's true that a lot of social media is designed in such a way that it's likely to induce you, entice you into misuse, into using it for purposes that can be draining. There's a book called Digital Minimalist. It's by a gentleman called, what's this gentleman's name? I'm forgetting his name. It's called Newport, Carl Newport. The gentleman is called Carl Newport. Now that book made me realize how much a damage social media can be. Not what you put on social media, just to you. How much time I can spend on Twitter, how much the algorithms of Twitter can be used to manipulate me into buying things I didn't want to buy through advertising. So it's like a muddy water. You have to be very cautious. You have to be very careful. Give yourself time and say, when I go to social media, I'm going to run this campaign. So for the last one week when I was spearheading the health campaign, I don't think I was very productive at work or at home. Because each time you're there trying to run the campaign, there is a bot, the bot accounts, the fake accounts, saying, this guy here is like this, oh, this guy is this guy here took my girlfriend. Now they're trying to divert you from the main issue that you're trying to put across. So endeavor to control yourselves. You know, people think that all the control should be by government, should be by the corporations like Twitter. Me, I think it's upon us to always control ourselves. Because God gave us brains. Because you know what is right and wrong. So if you're going to use these spaces for engagement, try as much as possible to understand what is the end goal of me using Twitter? What is the end goal of me using Facebook? And if I use it this way, what do I benefit? You can even go and evaluate, like we are doing with the with the exhibition. So we are off for now, but behind the scenes we're evaluating and saying, did we succeed? Did we fail? If we succeeded, what made us succeed? If we failed, how do we make it better? Do we continue with the campaigns, or this has outlived its time? Let's move on with our lives. So you can also evaluate your social media use and see things like that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Earlier on, you had given us several examples of how social media has been able to bring about successful implementation in the long run and successful responses from the people that have been reached out to. So could you just edify more on the different benefits that more means of engagement can offer to both the youth and the stakeholders in the different communities they're in, regardless of whether you're in a place where you can access technology or to the last mile youth in the different places that they're in?
Yeah, like I said, it may not always be about the last youth in the line. It may be about me saying, yeah, me, I have a phone, I have data, but there's a problem that that girls at that female students at UCU are being raped, yeah, and the rapist is on the loose. So I can use my phone, and we start a hashtag and constantly tweet to the point that the concerned authorities, be it the IGP, be it the Minister of Education, be it the President himself, are proactive and they say, we need police presence at UCU. We need to follow our tracks and get back and find the person doing this thing. I don't have so many connections to UCU. I was not a student there. But the idea is that as you do that, as you get the leaders aboard to address a problem, it's like a commitment to the country. Let me say soldiers. See, the soldiers who work diligently, or the policemen work diligently to serve and protect Ugandans. Many of them have never met us, but they trust their instinct and their intuition that we exist. When the police foil an Al-Shabaab attack, they probably could have caught me, who is not related to any of them, but the fact that there is need to have a better country, there is need to protect what we have, makes them do it. So that is the sense in which you should see these things many times, that we may not be the immediate beneficiaries, but the bigger benefit is that there's a country and we're all working towards making things better for ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Of recent, just a few days back, Jimmy Spire was interviewed by The Observer, and he said, I'll paraphrase what he said, is like, in case whether I speak or I don't speak, I will still be harmed. So it's better to speak up and be harmed for a cause. And I'll also talk about Kakwenza. You find that he has been able to use social media to speak up without fear or favor. And initially I thought it's because he's out of the country. But you get to find that even when he was in Uganda, he kept writing books regarding politics, the greedy barbarian and all that. And he was pointing out the issues in the government of Uganda. And that's how he was attacked. So what do you think are the potential challenges that can be able to, that the young people can face in this engagement, and how can they mitigate these challenges, attacking it without fear or favor?
So first, the bad news is that there's a risk. Yeah, it's not a walk in the park or a cup of coffee where you take and then you sing kumbaya, you have fun. It's not that. It's going to be tough many times. First, the good news though, let me start with the good news before I break your hearts. The Nigerians say everybody go chop breakfast, which I learned means everyone is going to have a heartbreak, and it has nothing to do with coffee or tea. So here's the thing. The good news is that most people who use social media to call out the government don't get arrested. That's the good news. Fewer, if you compare it to people who get arrested for protests, I think the arrest rate of protesters in these countries could be at about 60 or 70%. Social media, people use social media for protest and get arrested. Maybe they are 5%, yeah, or even less, or 10. Okay, let's say 10%. Now that's the good news. But you realize that with laws like the Computer Misuse Act and its amendment, the Computer Misuse Act I think is 2011, but there's a 2022 amendment, or what they call the Nsereko Amendment, sponsored by Muhammad Nsereko, the Kampala Central Member of Parliament. Now, using such laws, the government can always curtail your presence on social media. They can criminalize anything you're doing. I can put out the hashtag and say we need better services for health, or we need security officers paid better, and they can use it and say, under section this of the act, you're inciting the policemen, they're coming for you, and they will come for you. That's the risk. Number one. Number two is that, like Spire said again a few days back, that he had received threats. Yeah? They can actually threaten you, and they can actually go ahead and execute those threats. So you can be attacked in the night. Forget the formal thing. The formal thing is that you say, Toko, you've written ABCD. Here is an arrest warrant for you from the police. Report to Chivuli. Then I walk there. That is accepted even in law. But the other one is that they could use the extra legal methods, like you're shot, you're attacked, you're droned, you're disappeared. Now those are the more worrisome ones, the bad ones, or the worst of all the methods. But since I started with the good news that it doesn't happen often, that is one. Two, if you fear dying in Uganda, you're right. But again, dying because the police have arrested you and killed you is not the only way to die in Uganda. I mean, you can be on a border, and because you did campaign against a particular pothole, the pothole causes a problem. Yeah? And that can lead to your death. It's laughable, it's kind of funny, and that's the reality. Yeah? That if we don't speak up against education now, I can have my son take him to the best possible schools in Kampala. And he grows, but because some other child, less fortunate than me, didn't get as good education, that other child grows up and becomes a gangster, who will one day find my son withdrawing very little money at an ATM, say 500,000, and shoots him dead to take the 500,000. But if we worked for a better society from the start, and all these kids had a chance at an education, that my son, because he went to very good schools and I could afford, becomes a what? An engineer. So the guy didn't go to good schools, but he also studied and reached somewhere, and now he's a clerk. Yeah? He's an office messenger. He's earning decent living because of that. So society operates as a whole. Someone said that a chain is as strong as its weakest point, because the chain is going to operate as a whole. If there are members of our society whom we are not speaking up for, whom we are not supporting enough, because we feel like that's their problem. Like I said earlier, that I don't go to government hospitals. My medical insurance covers. Yesterday I went to a World Nations hospital. Yesterday I went to one of those private hospitals and did a comprehensive body check because I wasn't feeling well. But that doesn't mean that a disease cannot start among one of the people in this country who can't afford the services I afford. And then because I'm on field work somewhere in Namisindwa, these people had a disease like cholera. I get cholera, and before I can reach one of these fairly more expensive hospitals that I have a medical insurance for, I am dead. You get it? Yeah. So we need to work to ensure that we don't just think about ourselves, we think about our country.
Okay. Thank you very much. You've deeply brought it out. So you've told us the different threats that that people can face during the engagement, but how can they be able to mitigate these risks? Should they keep quiet? Should they do some kind of?
They shouldn't keep quiet. One, if you're engaging on social media, first of all, be respectful. Yeah, I am not castigating anyone. I am not stopping anyone, but I tend to be more respectful when I am engaging. It's a test of human conscience. You have to be really respectful to those you disagree with. So for me, I try as much as possible to ensure that I do that. That I don't. I'm telling you that I hate your government because they have not done this. But can I do it in the best possible words? That I don't personalize it. Yeah? Many times when you personalize things, people are easily angered. That is one. Two, stick to the issues. Yeah? When you raise the issues, stick to them. Don't deviate. Don't go into other things that are not part of the issues. Three, give credit where it's due. Say, well, we thank you for this, but we know that you can still do much more. The other thing is that always be cautious of your security, no matter what. If you tweeted out something and you think that there are people who are angered by it for that week, eh? You know what they say, that if you feel very angry, count up to 10. I think the human conscience is such that when you annoy people many times, if you give it time, their anger dies with time. So be cautious of your security at that point, like I was last week when we were running the health exhibitions, and I still am at this point. Those days I would go home really late. Nowadays, when I'm at home at 4, I begin to get worried. So yeah, those are the basic things. Because at the end of the day, again, you can't, the option of saying, let me not speak, let me not tweet, let me not say anything, that just doesn't work. Like I said at the start of my presentation, that humans, by our very nature, we communicate. In fact, communicating with one another is what makes us rule this planet as human beings. No other creature on the face of this earth, whether it be the big elephants, whether it be the small rats, no other creature, not even the baboons, can sit here like we are sitting, that are meeting total strangers. The guy who brought me to Mokono, because they've closed the Namugongo road, I had to use the border all the way from Kampala. The border guy who brought me here is a guy I'd never met, but we communicated. And I'm like, I'm going to Mokono, how much do you want? He charged me and then brought me here. So communication is something that we're always going to do, but let's do it within the confines and let's do it respectfully.
Okay. Thank you. You've just said that we should give credit where it's due, actually. So you're giving credit where it's due, whereby during the Uganda security exhibition, initially you were pointing out what the security department is doing in Uganda, like the negatives, like do this. But at some point I saw you coming in and giving credit to a police officer who helped somebody give birth, and I'm like, okay, this is really nice. You're not only pointing out the negatives, but you're bringing in the positive bit of it. And yeah, I really feel that was a good thing that you actually did.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what other, like the different means that of engagement that the youth are using, how can they empower the underrepresented youth in their communities to have a voice and an influence in the decision-making decisions? Because you get to find that in most communities, when youth get up to speak, there is this attitude of the old people, that an old person's eye sees where a young person's eye can't see the things. So yeah, how can these means of engagement be used to influence decision-making in communities?
Was it Chinua Achebe who said that a child who washes his hands eats with kings? Something like that, right?
Yep.
Maybe I'm paraphrasing. Many times, even when people don't want to listen to you on the basis of your age, if you really prove that you have something to say, many times they change the attitude. Yeah, I'm not saying it happens all the time. There are malicious people who will not listen to you, no matter how brilliant, how well researched what you're saying is. But there are those. So first, let's do our research. If you're going to tweet, like the exhibition, see, when they are tweeting the health exhibitions, I said, okay, everyone is going to go to hospitals, find pictures of what's wrong with the healthcare system in Uganda. I couldn't go to a hospital and start taking photos. They would arrest me, yeah? But I said, there are books that I've read that talk about Uganda's health sector. The Patient is a very, very good book by a lady called Olive Kobusinje. There's another one called, this one I'm sure you won't find, even if you wrote it down, because it's banned. It's called, it's by Professor Anthony Kembonye. The book is called Uganda's Health Sector Through Turbulent Politics, something like that. There's Mama Janet Museveni's book. It's called My Life's Journey. Even Museveni's book. So health is such a critical aspect of life that many times when people write books, they'll talk about health somewhere or something that you can deduce to mean health. So when Janet talked about running for, I think she ran in Rohama constituency, where she was running, she said she went to the hospital and saw the conditions and cried. That even before becoming MP, she said, let me mobilize my NGO friends to give us some money. We do something for this hospital. Now, for me, what made Spire, I think, reach out to me to lead the security exhibition is that when you have such information, everyone is sharing photos, but you're going an extra mile because you read books some time back, you got information some time back, and you can share it. They get impressed, and then they say, "Come to the table and dine with us." So what I'm saying here basically is that it's not just about using social media to run these campaigns, these exhibitions, these protests. Can we educate ourselves? Education we get in school is important, but everyone else gets it in Uganda now. Everyone knows how Napoleon conquered Europe. Everyone knows about Metternich. But how many people here know about Gracie Bingira, beyond the fact that he designed the Uganda flag? Yeah? How many of us here know about Matthew Ruchkere? And these guys write books. When they write books, invested. The Vijana guys have a whole library here with books. My only disappointment when I looked through is that there are very few Ugandan books. Now, if you can spare money to buy alcohol once in a while, I'm not preaching against alcohol. I don't want the country's economy to fail. Because if you say no drinking alcohol, there will be no taxes and the economy would fail. What I'm saying is that once in a while, spare some money maybe. Oh, you don't even have to spare money maybe. There are online books, pdfdrive.com. There's something about z-something.com where you can go and download these books. Download these books, educate yourself. If there's an issue like that is the talk of town in Uganda now, like the Anti-Homosexuality Act, yeah, we are all quick to talk. But beyond your own life experiences, how much more do you need? How much are you educating yourself? If you're talking about rep, if you're talking about education, if you're talking about potholes, how much more have you educated yourself beyond what everyone else knows? So I beseech you guys that let's try. It's not going to always be easy, but let's educate ourselves. We live in the digital age. Don't be like the government of Uganda. One of my biggest problems with the government of Uganda is that they don't communicate. They are very, very poor communicators. Probably the worst communicators. So let me give you an example, and I hope this is not controversial. You have an attack like what happened on Friday in Somalia. To this day, Al-Shabaab is giving more information than the government of Uganda. Information is like what they say of nature. It abhors a vacuum. When there's a vacuum, people will always find information. There was a time when a prominent female artist in this country gave birth suddenly. Yeah? I'll say the name for context. Juliana Kanyomozi. Then people were like, oh, people started speculating. The husband is so-and-so, the husband is so-and-so, the father is so-and-so. Then she came and issued a statement on Facebook and said, stop speculating. I know the father of my child. Then someone commented and said, okay, if you don't tell us, for us we shall know that it is this one. So why don't you tell us the real husband, the real father of the kid? So many times, I think it's important that we communicate. And that's why one of the things that I think the government of Uganda, despite its machinery, fails at the whole Ministry of Education, Media Center, GCIC, so many things. They don't communicate. If you don't communicate, people are going to pick information from the wrong source, including Al-Shabaab, and run away with it. If Al-Shabaab says they killed 137, and for you, maybe the figure is less. Because as you know, Al-Shabaab also likes propaganda. They'll probably say 137 when it was 30, when it was 10. Now, if you're not giving out information for 1 week, people are going to pick what Al-Shabaab said and run away with it and say it's 137. By the time you come to now do damage control, it will be too late. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. We've gone around social media throughout this engagement.
Yes.
But we get to find that there are some people. I would give an example of my place in Bududa. Most guys are business people and they have the button phones. So you get to find that they will not have access to the smartphones to go through those exhibitions that are going online. So what appropriate means can be used by the last mile youth to be able to engage duty bearers, and yet they have no access to technology? Because you get to find that the Twitter spaces that are going on regarding the different exhibitions, you get to find that some of them are aired out during the radio talk shows. So besides that, what other means can the young people use to engage duty bearers where they have no access to technology?
It's a bit of a tricky question, and one that's hard to answer. But like I said, and I'll say one more time, like, it may not be up to them. It may be up to me and you. Yeah? It may be up to me and you who have smartphones. to bring to the fore their plight. In the 2016 campaign, was it 2016, 2011, presidential campaigns, Dr. Kizza Besigye visited Abim Hospital. Yeah? And that day, Abim Hospital made news of how deplorable it looked. I don't think there are many people in Abim who have smartphones that will take photos and show them in the health exhibition. Yeah? But smart enough, Dr. Besigye realized that if he went to Abim Hospital, there are probably some bad things. I think if he had gone there and everything was good, hey, if you're a politician and everything is good, you thank them. You say, we are going to make other hospitals like this. Yeah? That's still your credit. But if it is bad, you show the bad. So when he showed the bad, what is the possibility that before Dr. Besigye, and I don't want him to die, what is the possibility that in his lifetime, before he dies, he will ever go to Abim Hospital? It's almost zero. That Dr. Kizza Besigye is sick, and of all the hospitals in the world, is admitted at Abim Hospital. Just try to figure that out. It's almost zero, yeah? Like, he can go to any other, even if he wanted to go to the best hospital in the world, he probably has the means to go there. But it was him who felt that the person in Abim, the young man in Abim who uses a button phone with 5 rubber bands and 3 buttons still on, where you move with a small stick to press some of the buttons. So he realized that that person has this problem, but he will never address it. But me, I have the voice, yeah, that I can use to address the challenge. And they used it effectively. So many times, that person, we can engage him in other ways. We can engage him in the barazas when we go there and ask him, what are the problems in Abim? What challenges are you facing? But to say that they would participate in an exhibition, yeah, they will hear about it on radio. But that is after, after the act, after Aspire and the guys in this room have lit up the exhibition, then he can hear about it, yeah, and say, oh, they're actually caring about our hospital. I think Abim is the worst. Yeah, so for me, that's how I look at it. It's upon us, the more educated. The reason we went to school, you see, I'm going to mention the last book. There's a book I like. That book is called The Tyranny of Merit. There's a very, very good author of books called Michael Sandel. Michael Sandel is an American philosopher. He has quite a number of books. In the Tyranny of Merit, this is what he made me understand. Let me summarize for you. I am a lawyer, educated, at the best possible university, perhaps in Uganda, Makerere University. From Makerere, I went to LDC and graduated still. So, I was, through education, through the family I was born in, I won't say that I was born in a very, very poor family. No. Through that, I am a privileged Ugandan. Yeah? Very, very privileged. So today, I have been put in which percent? 10% of Ugandans? How many Ugandans are lawyers? How many Ugandans can afford maybe to be in a place like this, to be invited? Maybe there are very few. Yeah, I'm not bragging. So let me say that it's 10%. So if I am in this 10%, it is very easy to forget where I started. But probably there was a time when I had come to visit, when I had gone when I had gone home. And you go home and there's a party, you party, or you go to a club and party, then you say, let me go and sleep at a friend's place. And the next day there's an exam. One paper that you cannot graduate without doing. It's easy to forget that there was a border guy perhaps, who is not as privileged as me, who rushed me and took me to the gate of Makerere or LDC. And I was able to sit the paper. It's very easy for me at the graduation to say, thank you very much, my teachers, thank you, my parents, thank you, everybody, blah, 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 and forget that there was a border guy whom I don't know, whom I will never meet, who contributed so immensely to me being a lawyer. If you went to Mulago Hospital today and they treated you and you found a heart specialist who opened your chest and cleaned your heart and they gave you a chance at life, it is very easy to be very grateful to that doctor and forget that if there wasn't an askari at the gate, he probably wouldn't come in. Yeah? If there wasn't this lady who takes a taxi, comes to Mulago, and then cleans, sweeps the corridors, cleans the wards where you're treated from. I mean, the doctor can't operate in a dirty hospital. Now, I want us to have a mindset that sees that lady, that sees the boda rider, that sees the askari as important as the doctor. Because their contribution is easier to ignore. When life picks us from the bottom and puts us up, we tend to start asking ourselves, how can I conquer this upper place? How can I make the best of it? Even as you do that, remember that your steps, among the people you stepped on to get there, I'm not saying literally, or among the people who helped to put you there, are so many people you will never meet who are not as privileged. When you take decisions, if you became leaders tomorrow, remember those people. Don't come and start taking decisions to ban borders in the city. Maybe you can ban them, but ban them with respect under certain structures. Don't ban them irrationally, and yet there's a border guy who saved you from missing an exam that without which you would never become what you are today. I hope that sticks.
Yes. Thank you, Godwin. You've really brought it to the light and given us a clear picture of what it is like. And any last words to the youth that are to engage with duty bearers, and what should they be aware of as they engage in these duty bearers using the different means of engagement, and how should they move forward?
Okay, so one, we still need to respect elders. It's a very important thing. A lot of young people today have this attitude that the old guys, whether in politics, whether in business, the old guys are exploiting us, the old guys are eating our future, blah, 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 blah. There were old guys before the old guys we have now. There were young people. The old guys we have now were young people at some point. In fact, they have more experience being young people because they have experience of being young people and being old people now. So they know better where we are with hindsight. Let's be respectful. When you're going to engage your leaders, do it respectfully. Don't throw tantrums. Don't get angered. Another thing is that always think of life beyond yourself. Think of the community. Think of the country. Think of the world.
Thank you very much, Godwin. A round of applause for our speaker, Godwin. Yeah, we've come to the end of this session. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Godwin and Abigail, for that conversation. It was wonderful to be part of it. And what's the point in conversation if we cannot also involve ourselves? While a huge part of it is about listening in, this is also a time that we get to participate. So for all the questions that we've been thinking through, maybe certain comments that Godwin has made, that has triggered something, that has a question in your mind. This is the time to take part. Don't deny yourself a chance to also get involved. I think for me the important thing is also what our individual contributions are, what the contribution is in engagement.
Yes, it was off.
No, it was what? No? That's because it was hanging. So it was making that sound. That's the thing.
going fine.
Okay, we are about to finish. We are going to hear from Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. People online, hi there. How is it going? Pakwach, Mbale. Is everything fine? Can we just hear from you guys? Yusuf, Ato, or Anita? We want to know if you guys are at par. Mbale. That worries us. Are they hearing us or not? Okay. If you're able to hear us, I think we can move on to the next session. My name is Lydia Nataleja, and I'm not here to talk. I'm here to let the beautiful faces in this room, in Pakwach and in Mbale, share with us what they have to ask, because we are going to hear from you guys. We want to hear the brilliant questions. We want to hear how you have understood the whole presentation, starting with what Godwin presented to you guys, what he shared. We want to hear what you have to ask him, and then we will move forward. So we are not going to talk much, and I just want to know who to start with. Is Mbale ready? So that we can start with you guys. Or Pakwach? Okay, if they are still working on the sound, I would like to start with Mukono because they are more than ready to ask questions. So, who is the lucky person to go first? We are talking about means of engagement, guys. We wouldn't want to hear about technology and media, social media alone. Of course, even information sharing. We have so much more. We have youth groups, we have social youth networks, we have music. I'm sure we have guys from Delight. By show of hands. Delight, you see. We have people from youth networks. Almost everyone here is belonging to a youth group. So we want to hear you guys ask these questions because you're already engaging, isn't it? So who is ready to go first? We are going to keep time. Just go straight to your question, introduce yourself, and go straight to your question. And then Godwin will be able to respond. And of course, we would also like to hear you guys share your experiences, why you engage in your groups, in your various means that you're using. Share with us some of the challenges, some of the wins that you're registering, some of the things that you come across while you engage, because I believe we are using different means. We wouldn't want only to, delve much on social media alone, and then we leave out other opportunities. So, can I have someone who's ready to go first? Mukono? Mbale? Mukono is still, they are still reconstructing the sentences and the questions. So, can I have someone from Mbale who is ready? Or Pakwach?
Yeah, are you able to hear Mbale, sister?
Loud and clear.
So there are some sequences all here inside.
Unfortunately, we are unable to hear you, Yusuf. Maybe the person asking is a bit far away from the microphone. I don't know what is exactly happening, but we are unable to hear you from this end. Okay, I'll still come back to Mukono. Let's save time. Guys, I've had so many things that have been shared here, and I believe you have picked one or two. You can see clarity. You can also share, just like I said before, but we'd like to know how you have understood, especially from what Godwin shared with us and the questions that he was trying to respond to, so that we can, move together. May I know who is ready to start so that we can give you the microphone as they try to... Yes, thank you. Let me have a microphone, please. Just behind you.
Good afternoon.
Kindly, for now, stand up and then face the camera. Sorry about that. Okay, defenders. So, keep talking. Tell us your names and what you have to share.
My name is Violet. My question, actually, it will come in line of medical insurance. When Mr. Godwin mentioned insurance, my question now comes in. Have you ever been in a position whereby the private hospital you've gone to actually prioritizes cash clients more than insurance? And if yes, how were you able to manage such a situation?
Okay, I think that is noted. I prefer we raise like 5 questions, then Godwin will come in and respond to them at once, as opposed to having one question at a go. Who else is ready to ask so that we save time? And in case Mbale or Pakwach is ready, let me get a thumbs up. Okay.
Question.
Okay, Mbale, I hear Yusuf.
Yeah, the camera, we are on.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, please, they are ready. You can talk.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Odoch Godwin Bidozo. I work with Pakwach FM as a presenter, and also I do publicity for Karaka Humanitarian Initiative Limited from NEPI, but currently I'm in Pakwach district. One, I would like to thank all the other speakers that spoke before me. One important point I've learned from today's session is social inclusion. So as youth, let's try to always make sure that we include ourselves in each and every programs, whether being part of the media. And then two, to also add on something small, social media played a very great role. Like we all remember what happened to this young girl, Nicole, last year, how the campaign went viral, and those ladies were arrested. And then two, we also remembered the Mubende saga. Currently, there's a man who has been romancing a 16-year-old girl, and he has been doing it live on TikTok with the help of whistleblowers. Last week, the police confirmed to the country that the man has been arrested. And then also, we remembered when it comes to raising voices, what the late Afande Chirumira said. He quoted, "When you speak, you die, and when you keep quiet, you die." So for him, he stood for the truth to say, you rather speak and die rather than keeping quiet. And then there's another small thing I would like to also add on the voice from our council, Godwin. As much as we should also have respect engagement, and also we respect our elders, let's not forget that they also fought for their rights during the youthful stage. So as much as we also sit, let's not sit and sleep. Let's also engage them in a fruitful discussion so that by the end of the day, we all agree to one common goal. And then I would also love us to take our time and listen to this song from Lucky Dube, Just the Way It Is. since our council is also a Rasta man, there is a point there that be good to the people you meet on your way, so that they will also be good to you when they meet you on their way. And also, as we appreciate all the efforts made here and there, let's not forget to also appreciate our own selves. That is why Snoop Dogg, in one of his appreciation speech, she said, last but not least, I want to thank myself for not quitting.
Yes.
I want to thank myself for having no days off. So for me, it is a very fruitful discussion. And as youths, let's not always engage on social media. Like in Karaka Hill, at sometimes we go for outreaches. Let's reach the poor, let's reach the disabled, let's raise our voices. I say this all for God and my country. Thank you so much. I sounded a little bit nervous because today is my first time attending this session. I hope next time it will be more better. May God bless you all.
Thank you so much. I think we can have like 3 more, then Godwin will come in to respond to them. But I also encourage the online audience, please keep typing in your questions. We will have time and look at them and respond to them. Of course, Godwin will be alerted. And for now, let's have 3 more questions before Godwin can come in.
I'm by the name of Zachary. I'm a filmmaker by profession. I like telling stories, and I appreciate what Vijana Core has done to invite youth and give them this particular knowledge. But now there is one question that I wanted to put forth before Godwin so that he can give us maybe clarity, because we are in a country where we have a lot of youths who we are emotional. I don't know whether it is desperation, because we are undergoing through a lot of problems like unemployment. Then you find that sometimes politicians tend to use that for their gain, and sometimes they bring us into. Actually, they invite us to start supporting them, and since we know how to use social media, and right now you're encouraging us to always share community concern on social media. I advise that if there's a way that you people should not stop this and continue organizing this kind of sittings, so that we can also learn how to maneuver that in social media very well. Being a journalist, at least I know how to use that. I believe that some youths who may use this tool badly, the way you say that this platform is like having a gun. Of course, we have seen of late people who are having gun have almost started misusing it. They're shooting one another. Then in the same way, we may end up misinforming people that we are being encouraged to use social media. So I advise that if it's possible, you could guide us how best we can use this so that we can share our community concern amicably. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zachary. Anyone else? Okay, someone from Mukono. We have someone asking from Mukono. Please go ahead.
My question is, how can we use the media like to fight for ourselves? Like most of the things can be WhatsApp, but WhatsApp can't go viral too many days. WhatsApp just goes to the days you have in your phone book. Is it incumbent for all of us like to have Twitter, TikTok, such stuff? And then another issue is like we engage in the struggle like to fight for others, but most of us we don't have like followers, those people who will be on you like to follow what you're bringing out to the public. How can we have that thing in us? Because Mr. Godwin may have many followers and people are engaging to follow him on Twitter, but us who don't have followers, how can we enhance that?
Thank you, but I believe Godwin started just like any other person. You just grow your platform. It depends on what you're telling people on that platform. People will subscribe to what they want to hear. So it's Godwin will respond to that, but from my, the way I have always engaged with social media, I have always followed or subscribed to what I want to hear. Normally it depends on the message, how you package your message, how you mobilize the rest to buy in. So sometimes it's about what you put there. So I welcome Gordon to respond to those few questions as we warm up and prepare more questions, because I believe everyone is going to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Question one came from Violet. She asked if I had gone to a hospital and I found that they prioritize cash over over medical cards. Okay, I didn't want the conversation to be so much about my insurance and all that. I just said that as a by the way. But yes, I have come to appreciate hospitals. So what's this hospital called? The one that has a branch somewhere. Is it called C Clinics now? From IMC. It's now called C-Care.
C-Care,
Yeah, I know for a fact that C-Care, for instance, has no problem with insurance. Kampala International Hospital has no. So you get to know that these ones, I can always go there and don't take. Yeah, but that was a by the way. Let's not spend my time on it. Politicians using the youth for personal gain. Yeah, that is expected. Politicians use everybody. they would even use children. I mean, I've seen videos of politicians using children to get their messages passed across. You know that they have coached this kid to say these things, the kid says them, all of us become emotional and say, oh. But then later the evidence comes out that, that was the kid coached and he used it. Politicians are like thieves, yeah? There was a time in Kampala where kids would appear on the streets with photos of prominent people, a photo of Museveni, and the kid is there like he's drawing a street kid, but there will be a bowel for dropping money. Because of the busy schedule of many people walk around Kampala, you're not there to see the kid drawing the full picture. So you just appreciate the kid and leave some 2,000 in the bowel. Some investigative journalists did their research and realized that there were some old men who would draw these pictures, give them to the kids go and pose like they're the ones drawing, and then they get money. Yeah, so that's how politicians are. They're going to use everybody. But again, like I said, God gave us brains. Don't allow it to be used. Yeah, have priorities. Say unless it is about A, B, C, D. This is my Rubicon. I will never cross this. So I don't think you'll find me being. I mean, okay, politicians may use me, but I'll try hard to make it hard for them to use me. You're not going to find me organizing violence and saying that we're going to attack the opponent of so and so because the politician is going to pay me. I would never do that. So please set your limits and be very strong on those limits and make sure that unless it's about you, at the end of the day, what are you benefiting from it? Yeah, whether it's a government politician, whether it's an MP, whether it's opposition, each of them will try to use you. Just be cautious enough. And when you're cautious enough, you can always see through the lies. There was a question I missed. I hope I will get it. There was a question I missed. I think it came from Pakwach.
Pakwach, yes, the first person to ask from Pakwach.
What were they saying?
I really didn't get him clearly.
Okay, I'll get it.
Maybe we can have it in the chat.
Yeah, we can. So the last person said, must we have Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and all these other platforms? I think it depends on if you're trying to put a message across. I think WhatsApp is more a personal thing. That's why the messages are even encrypted, or at least they lie to us that they're encrypted. People prove that's a lie. Yeah, they say that no one is going to see your messages, but it's a lie. So WhatsApp is a more of personal. Texting your family, you're texting your girlfriend, you're texting your mom, you're texting your wife, you're texting your friends, you're texting your teacher, you're texting your classmates. More a me to you. So if there's a WhatsApp group, I think now they have increased the limit of how many people can be in a WhatsApp group. Has it now reached 700? I think about 500. They increased the limit recently. It used to be 250. Yeah, but I've also seen things go viral from WhatsApp. You've seen screenshots. They're normally the funny ones, the meme, the meme type, not the type that is for activism and calling for betterment. Yeah, but it was Kagame, I think, president of Rwanda, who said you fight with the army you have. If you have the army of Uganda, you can't say, if I had the army of America, these guys are going to face me. You don't have it. Yeah? I can't keep saying that. If I had a Mercedes Benz, maybe I will. But if you have a border, you address your problems with the border that you have. So whether you have one follower on Twitter, there was a time when I had like 20 followers on Twitter. And there were those loyal followers. Like whatever you tweet, pop, retweet like. But you also realize that it's not about really huge following. Let me give you an example. You find someone has 10,000 followers on Twitter, but the average retweets and likes on their posts is 10. When someone has 200 followers, but their tweets are getting more traction. So I think the worst thing that can happen to you on social media is to be followed by the wrong people. The wrong people, meaning the people who are not there for your message. Maybe a pretty lady, you put your very profile picture with a very pretty face, and the guy is coming to follow the pretty face. Then you begin talking about things like, we need better menstrual hygiene management in schools. And because these guys, for them, their interest lies elsewhere, you think will never go viral because they're not. It's not the kind of message they want. So I believe that you can organically grow your account. I don't believe in these things of advertising your account, for instance. You organically grow it. Keep putting out your message. And like I said, you don't need a big following. I've seen people with like 100 followers put out a message that resonates with people. You come and find a tweet, just 10, 20,000 retweets, 10,000 likes. Oh, who has retweeted? Some dude who has 200 followers. Yeah, it means that it's about how you coin the message at that point. So the message will go viral. You still get the activism or whatever you want, the message you want across, but with that small following. I guess have I left out any question?
There was one question from.
Yeah, that was the last one. The one about whether it's Facebook, Twitter, and then the question of followers.
Maybe from
I'm just saying one more there.
Okay, let me have his first. Yeah. Use the microphone. Okay.
Good evening. Good afternoon. I'm called Chizito Jebron. I'm the representative of CBOs in Mukono, Community-Based Organizations, and I've realized we have less CBOs of the youth. We have less youth groups in Mukono, and not because we have fewer youth in Mukono. It's because we are not cooperative. And with issues of phones, I think as Amarasta said, he said that we are turning, the world is changing. Time is going to come. Aero is moved by costers, these Mukono costers, but during jam, you find everybody scrolling. So everybody, it's going to come a mandate that every youth has to possess a phone. So this is what I did to my youth club. I'm a chairman of the Vidan Youth Group, it's in Mukono also. I actually had the first phone in our group after we had started. And how to put this into the youth, what I had to do is to afford a slightly cheaper phone for the group, but it was not for an individual. So I did that, not doing it for the group, but I saw that because of the competition that would come, everybody would like to see. Let me see. Now from there you say, now a friend of mine here will say, now, why don't I get my own phone? We have a lot of scandals of fighting for phones in this. That's how I managed. So I think now we are like 15 people having smartphones in the group. So it's an achievement because I bought the first one. Whoever went, and 5 people are coming, I want to say, why did I buy mine? So that's what we can do. So the question is, the one I had, I'm a photographer. I wasn't TikToking. I was not a content creator before. But after inspiration from different friends of mine, I had to open up accounts, TikTok, what and what. This is where the question of a friend came that how can I be viral when I have less followers? So I had friends advising me that if you are creating, for example, TikTok, I have never used Twitter. If you are using TikTok, when you're posting something and you want to get viral, you can go to YouTube and say, how do I boost my post on TikTok? You can get everything you want. So for me, I always post and I hash trending. After you write hash trending, you see the trending accounts. You find out the accounts that are trending, you add them on your post. If you post it, it reaches a lot of people. And another question is, Mr. Otto, do you have some youth empowerment pages, groups, or links you know of, so that we can actually engage, or because some of us, we don't know some of the groups or TikTok accounts that are inspiring the youth or teaching more about the youth. Maybe that's it.
Thank you very much, and I think your question has been captured. But I was just responding to what Godwin shared. Many times young people forget to grow their pages, and then they result into the practice of buying, following. You'll waste time buying, following, but as long as your message is not impacting, of course they'll take the monies, but you should always grow your page, you should always grow your platform with concrete, messages that really turn out to be impacting, because people will always follow you if at all you have something to add to them. So I think as Godwin shared, we need to be very keen when it comes to how we engage. Using social media is also a very, very big mistake that young people have done, because they think if you woke up and you posted a very nice picture, that people will follow you simply because they are attracted to that picture. But what is the message? And of course, you can easily grow your following if at all you're consistently engaging with your people. Try to check on them every time, now and then. Always go and check on what people are asking. Don't leave the page blank. Keep following up and share more and more if you want to grow that audience. Thank you. May I have questions coming in from Bale?
You talk.
Yes, this is not Bale but Pakwach. I'm saying Lakisha Ivan. You are the CEO of Pakwach Speaks, and as well an advocate. Currently, I run a program called Pakwach Speaks on a space that is on Google Meet, where we host young people and we discuss about issues affecting our people of Pakwach. Yeah, so we've handled a series of issues, but I can give a recent experience of one of the impact of the advocacy we did of recent, when a young girl, that happens to be my sister, was assaulted by a soldier. So when the issue went to the police, they were kind of dilly-dallying the issues, and they were kind of playing around with the issues. And then I asked some of my teammates that, guys, this is the matter. I gave them the details. Let's get the work done. We started engaging on social media, and immediately we happened to reach the office of IGP very fast, and a serious warning was sent to police. And as I speak, the suspect was put behind bars yesterday in the Chief Magistrate Court of Navy. That was one of the experiences. But I want to thank God for today that we are learning, and we are learning and we are being equipped more to know and to understand best how we can do advocacy to help our people. But then from my past experience, I have learned one of these challenging facts in the journey of advocacy. One is that, following the case that just ended up yesterday with the suspect being put behind bars, I was told by the officers in charge that helping me will be a tug of war next time when I'm in issues. So I got that message so serious because it is kind of challenge. Yeah, it's kind of challenging when you try to do the good things, then later when somebody is promising a worse future for you, it is quite challenging. But then also allow me add more on some of the issues that we've discussed, one of which is the method that we are trying to use to reach out into the community, apart from social media that our facilitators comprehensively elaborated on them. Today I've seen many organizations and even many government institutions have resorted into the uses of posters and flyers in the community. Yeah, it is hard for most of our rural areas to access some of this gadget that permits the usage of social media. But then when you pin a photo, one is able to see very fast. And I learned that when we were trying to do some teenage pregnancy advocacy, that was in the month of November and December, even it ended in Jan. when we did flyers, with so many concerned persons responding positively and actions being taken even by some development partners in regard to seeing that the vice is eliminated among us, which I thank God that the fight is continuously still going on. But I strongly believe that when we think outside the bracket, when we think beyond social media, still we can do advocacy. Like for instance, today we have the performing artists amidst us, the filmmakers. These people are always down there in the field and they can do something that speaks to the community. As I remember, our facilitator was talking about Brenda Puso and some other people who use their music. I cannot forget the man called this Bobby Wine that we know. Yeah, his journey began through advocacy. He would speak about the injustices in the community when he listened to his part song before joining politics. He started with music as an advocacy. That was even prompting some affirmative actions. So I strongly believe as young people, if we can think about whatever talent we have and we put it toward speaking about the vices in our community, then we can create a better community. Yeah, then I think basically let's try to think and see the best method of reaching the closest people we have, other than only looking at social media. Before I maybe sit down, also I would like to tell you that one of the problems we have in Pakwach here is the number of people on social media is a challenge. My dream as a proprietor of Pakwach Speaks and Advocacy platform was to strictly use social media. Then when I created an account on Twitter, it took me around 2 months to make 129 followings, regardless of the efforts that we would make to make that achievable. So I think when we decide to use the cheapest means possible within our reach to access the lowest person, we can create a better society as young people. I submit.
Thank you. I think that was more elaborative. I kindly request that when you stand up to speak, kindly go straight to the question so that we save time. Being that we are so many people that are ready to ask, let us save time. But for now, allow me to go to the chat and read out some of the questions that have been trickling in. Someone saying, thanks, Mr. Godwin, I guess. Maybe place more emphasis on how important, good, and at the same time, bad social media can be if you do not understand how to go about it. He says currently we the youth have shifted from communally sharing ideas and working together to individualizing ourselves. So enlighten them on how important and powerful working together can be. That is Emma from Mbali. And then someone says appreciation to Vijana Co for the initiative of engaging with young people. Bravo, bravo. Mine was a point of correction to Mr. Godwin Toko, where he said students moved from Makerere to EU Embassy, protesting against the EU parliamentary resolution that it was state managed, which is not true. I happen to have been part and partial of the demo as a student leader. The demo was as a result of us students under the umbrella body that unites all students in Uganda, that is Uganda National Students Association. We resolved to march to the EU Embassy from where we met from, and that was Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, not Makerere University. The demo was called by students purely and managed by students. So they notified security agencies about it 7 days prior, and they granted them permission to go ahead on their due day. Security was provided for their safety. So that is coming in from Mbale. I think someone was trying to correct you. And the question. So can I have at least one question from Mukono so that Godwin can come in and respond to? Yes. Let me have the microphone.
Good evening.
My name is Daniel Komboni.
Yes, Daniel.
I'm a local leader from Nakuru. I happen to be in spaces of young people. Well, my question is to Mr. Godwin. We're in a generation whereby AI is taking over, the world is changing every now and then. How can you advise a young person to position themselves? Because assumptions are some jobs are going to diminish, or some already diminishing. How can one position themselves? Then the second question is, how can one fact check online the bots and the real human interactions?
Okay. Thank you. That has been captured. So I think
Yeah,
respond to those.
we can respond to those. The person who asked earlier, and I had forgotten, had asked about something about old people, that the old people also fought their way and stuff like that. Yeah, I get the frustration, I get the fears, but you don't have to be as bad as other people. Because if you're all bad, someone has to rise up and be good, and then you can change the course of events and become good people. So I still insist that we need to engage old people respectfully. We need not to say to wish them away. You're not going to wish them away. You see, the old person you're wishing away is another youth's father, is another youth's uncle. So you're going to end up fighting among yourselves as youths. Because if you're attacking the guy, you're attacking my father. You get it? About the correction, that's a very interesting one. One, because there's evidence came, I think it was the Observer that ran a whole story the next day on the Daily Monitor, saying that schools said they were tricked into releasing students, that there was an engagement under UNSA, and these students ended up at Kololo, where they were led into the demonstration. I have friends who are in these organizations, including UNSA, and I asked them and I reached out and said, what happened? Someone told me this was organized from as far as State House through ISO. But that's a conversation we can have some other day. Yeah, and I think the correction, maybe it wasn't a correction, maybe it was a distortion of facts, but let that not derail us. I guess the main point, and I think you also mixed up two things. Because I said the guys who marched to the American embassy, we are marching about sanctions. It may have been last year or the year before. Because I know the guys who led it. There's a young man called, is he called Muhezi? He's a friend, one of these youths. It's called Maxwell Muhezi, something like that. He's my friend. He's not led those guys, so I know that for a fact. That has to be contrasted from the EU and ECOB match. I made those 2 points differently. So emphasis on good and bad of social media. Yeah, social media is a terrible thing, you guys. It can drain you. It can take away your power. It can make you a robot. You always follow it. Who has followed me? Who has liked my comments and all that? And it's not because it's an accident. It's not only happening to you. That is how social media was designed. Yeah. If you read the book I told you about, Digital Minimalist by Cal Newport, or Digital Minimalism, I think, by Cal Newport, he makes the argument, says that these things were designed to do that. So because they were designed to do that, it is very easy to make you a victim of social media, that you spend all your time on social media, or you spend all your time, you spend all your time doing less productive things on social media. But again, it's like a gun, as I said. You have to keep fighting and ensuring that you get the best and the most out of it. Are there youth empowerment pages or accounts? Now, here's the thing. I'm actually a young person. I think I still fall within. The youth bracket is what? 20,
Here,
18
it's 15 to, according to our nation, it is 15 to 35.
35.
Yeah.
According to the UN?
I think it's 16 to
30.
30.
In either case, I would still be a young person. I would still be a youth. Yeah? So what I'm trying to say is this. I fear sometimes, and I hope this is not controversial or beyond proportion, but sometimes the youth are really trying to be so separated from society. Yeah? We are trying to get special treatment, special things, that we are going to end up being misguided. So an organization like Vijana is a very important place for us to come and sit down as young people. But if we are only going to say which TV has youth programs for us to watch, which books have youth things for us to watch, which businesses can the youth do, it's going to be problematic, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be a youth forever. Being a youth is not like being a black person in the US. In the US, if you're born black, you die black. So probably the conditions and the differences that black people face in the US will be there for the period of your lifetime. Once in a while, start breaking the barriers. Start saying, which platforms have conversations that you can engage in, regardless of whether it's people of 70 years only on that platform. Go and learn from them. Like I said, they were youths before. Many times they will say things that you learn from them. So I don't know any of those accounts, I don't know any of those pages, and for me, I try as much as possible not to really be that person who is always fronting the card that I am a youth, I am a youth, I am a youth. No. I always try to say, well, I am of this world, I live in the world, what's there in the world? I think sometimes we need to do that. Fact checking. See, who knows Onyango Bo? Anyone? Charles Onyango Bo. You guys don't read the Daily Monitor. So Charles Onyango Bo is a journalist. He writes columns in the Daily Monitor, I think on Wednesday. Today is Wednesday? Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday. His columns run on Wednesday in the Daily Monitor. He once wrote, and this was some time back, I probably was like at campus. He said, fake news is like food in the market. When you go to the market, say, what do you guys buy from the market? Tomatoes, chicken, bananas, like anything you go to buy in the market. There can be good and bad of that. If the lady who is selling chicken in the market, not supermarket, hosts you when you've come to buy chicken, she's trying to cheat you by selling to you the smallest at the possible highest price. If the lady who is selling tomatoes is probably going to fix some tomatoes that are rotten for you to take. You must be so alive to pick and even taste and say, this one can go in, this one will not. So what he was saying basically is that social media or news is like that. There's going to be a lot of fake news, a lot of news that is not true. 2 months ago, someone said, oh, there's a footballer called Hakimi who was divorcing his wife, and then his wife asked for property, only to be told that all the property is in the mother's name. Yeah. People ran away with it. Men were like, oh, Hakimi, so people putting Hakimi on their statuses. But in my mind, I was like, is that possible? Why? Because I know for a fact that it is not possible that the law can say Godwin works, Godwin earns money in his name as Godwin, but he has saved the money in the name of his sister, so Godwin doesn't have money. The law would never accept that. The law would say you have money, it's your sister's account. You pick it and share it, yeah? So even companies, you cannot form a company, do bad things, and then say, it wasn't me, it was the company. In law, there's something called lifting the veil. They will lift the veil and say, who is behind this company? It is Gloria, it is Godwin. So the company then, the issue is addressed as such. So for me, what I want you guys to do is to be aligned. When news looks too good to be true, I hear Elon Musk is making robot wife. First Google. There are not many accounts that fact-check news in Uganda, but there are many accounts abroad that fact-check news. When you Google some of these things, you find that they have already fact-checked and said that is false. Even a platform like Twitter now has that provision of fact-checking thing. They come and say, context. And sometimes they even fact-check their own boss called Elon Musk. They say, here he has lied, the truth is ABCD, and then you say, okay, there's confusion in this place. if he's lying, maybe they should have told him by a phone call and he deletes the tweet. But the other thing is about the bot accounts. Man, you cannot bot accounts. They tend to be recently created, having a few followers, and they tend to be purposely formed for that objective. So if a bot account is meant to abuse you for attacking the government, you go to their tweets, under tweet section, let's say like replies and tweets, you find that every time they're replying to someone, it is about the same thing. Yeah? It is nothing else. Meaning that someone is not bold enough to say these things under their own account, their own accounts to do it. Then AI and jobs. So I didn't read. I listened to a podcast recently, and the discussion was that AI, ChatGPT, I think ChatGPT is for Microsoft. Now Google has its own called Bard, and how they are probably going to affect jobs. And the guys were saying that the fear that technology is going to drive away people from jobs has been existing from as far back as the 60s. People are already fearful. I'm not saying that AI is not going to take away some of our jobs. I'm saying it is going to take them away. But I'm saying that maybe we shouldn't worry ourselves that much as of now. In any case, how fast will ChatGPT, how much will AI impact this part of the world that fast? So if you told ChatGPT to write a story about certain things in Uganda, it can't write them. You would still need Uganda to write them. So yes, how do you prepare for that? How we prepare for that is that we keep following, keep observing, and we keep educating ourselves all the time. Okay. I think learning is a process that I think something that the young people in Uganda, we do very little is to learn. We need to really be deliberate. Guys, say I'm going to read a book every week. I'm going to read a book every month. You wake up in the morning, you say, for me, my schedule is that I wake up in the morning, and before I go to work, or before I work at office, I try to do about 30 pages. When you do those 30 pages, then around that time when you're going for lunch, you're like, let me do 5, 10 pages. Then in the afternoon, let me do another 20 pages. Then in the evening, you realize that you're doing 70, 80 pages or 100 pages a day. If you did that, you're going to end up reading like 2 books a week. And it happens. Because you can really be deliberate about it and say, I'm going to pick this book. If I sit in a taxi going to Mukono, I should get to Mukono when I've done 20 pages. And you can do it. Move with your book. We're having a discussion earlier, the age-old discussion on whether it is e-books or hard copy books that are better. Yeah? For me, I've always said that if I can't afford, if I don't have money, e-books are better because they are for free. I can always pirate. They're always pirated and online. I can download them. But when you have money, there's something about touching a book, a cover. Then you write there. When I'm reading, I can even write there and say, but this one is a lie. On the page, this guy is lying. Then I'll say why he's lying. Because some other book that I believe better than this one said A, B, C, D. Yeah? Then I leave it there. So, yeah, we need to educate ourselves more, and it's possible. There's so much, we live in the digital age. One of the reasons we are not as privileged, I think, as black people, is because we don't even have that much information yet. We don't even know much about ourselves. If I task you that, write some papers about Uganda, you may end up reading books by non-Ugandans to talk about Uganda. There are people who talk about Uganda and they're not Ugandans, and you listen to them and say, how did you know all this? There's a gentleman called Martin Meredith. He wrote a book called The State of Africa. I think I read that book. It must have been like a 2012 book. I read that book when I was at campus, and the guy writes stuff about Obote. So for me, how I fact-checked whether an author is lying is that I'll get their book and look for what he wrote about something that I know. Yeah? Especially if you write about something like I know like Makerere, Kampala, Ntinda, those places that I know. If you write about them and you go to your facts, write about them, I give you a clean bill of wealth. I'm like, seems he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. So when you look at these guys, some of them write about these things. Martin Meredith wrote about Obote and a Kokoro. I'd gone to a Kokoro, and the guy described the thing, and I was like, wow, how did this guy? And he did that for every African country, and I'm like, these guys actually know what they're up to. Yeah. So we need to educate ourselves much, much more. I'm not saying that we are not doing it. I'm saying that we just need to do it more. Don't get tired of learning. When we come to sessions like this, we share knowledge, we learn, we correct each other. Hopefully we get better. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Godwin. I think we have run out of time, but allow me read out something that came from Mbale. Someone said, I don't agree that all physical demos are state managed, but rather the people intending to do so rarely engage security agencies, which is against the law. And then someone called Dennis Kipea.
It shouldn't be against the law, if I can respond to them.
Please.
The police use that illegally. Yeah? So I know people who are in the opposition and write to the police and they never responded to. That is one. True. But two, even Mao said it, I think it was last week. You can Google Mao's speech last week. He was saying that the police have taken this overboard. They think that people should request them for permission. No. So inform the police. Yeah? So many people inform the police in very many other ways, and the police never give them permission. And I insist that I have seen demonstrations in this country that are more useful to us, like the medical interns demonstration. That is more useful to the country. The police will never let them happen, but they'll always let the ones that seem to favor the government always take place. Thank you.
Okay, and then someone called Dennis Kipea from Mbale Steel said his simple advice to fellow young people would be, let's exercise our freedom in a manner that we don't infringe on the rights of others in all aspects. So I guess we have had enough time to interact. Of course, time is not, we are against time. So we would like to stop here. But if there's anything that we shouldn't leave out today, I would give someone just 30 seconds to share that one thing. If there's anything that you feel you'd like to put it across, if it's burning, and if it's not there, it is still okay. We will meet some other time and explore all those. Okay, I'll choose the one in black because you have already submitted. So just chap, 30 seconds.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Zora Ngwe.
Kindly use the microphone so that our colleagues can hear us from Bala and Pakwach.
My name is Zora Ngwe.
Yes, Brian.
From Seta. My main concern goes to Mr. Godwin. You said you're Rastafari.
Yes, I am.
But my own concern goes to our fellow brothers who are down in the ghetto, just smoking. How are we going to help them?
Okay.
Their lives.
Okay.
From smoking, doing something for their own lives.
Okay.
Because most of them have never been there. Most of them have their own goals. Most of them have their dreams. But can I say that their brains are locked here? That God will help you. But you can't achieve something when you've not worked hard.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's a very interesting one. Started by saying Rasta. It's true, I am a Rasta. I live my life like a Rasta. Because I feel like Rasta exalts the black race. It makes us powerful. It says we are not ordinary people. Yeah? We are as powerful as any other race, say the white race. But here's the thing. There's a problem of drug abuse in this country. And it has nothing to do with Rastas. Yeah? Rasta does not teach drug abuse. Rasta does not teach laziness. Rasta condemns drug abuse. And Rasta condemns laziness. The people in the ghetto are not going to be my concern alone. I am worried. I hope they can be better because they're young people like me. When you walk around the ghettos of Kampala, you probably find a person who was your OB somewhere. You may find some guy or some girl you dated. Eh? If I went there, maybe I'll find a girl I dated. Or if some ladies went there, maybe I'll find a guy you dated. Feeding into all that, again, is the question of mental health in this country. I am privileged that I did a mentorship in mental health, about 6 months mentorship in mental health, when I had just left Law Development Center. So these are very intertwined questions that give us a big challenge as young people. How do we address these problems? Yeah? I'm not going to answer that. Let's just keep that as food for thought. How are we addressing these? How are we helping people who are having mental health issues in the country? How are we helping people who are taking a lot of drugs and therefore getting into mental health issues? How are we treating our friends? Are we treating them into situations that lead them into depression and then mental health issues? Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll quickly respond to someone from Pakwach because he was asking how they can transfer information from social media to the last mile community members. I think when Abigail was engaging Godwin in a conversation, he talked about the alternative ways of engaging. So if you followed up with that conversation, he responded to that. Because we are time bad, we will not go into that. And then someone said that Godwin talked of using community, barazas, art and drama. I think this is Abigail. Can you kindly read out your message because I cannot see it clearly?
I was just emphasizing on what Godwin said, like if you've had the information, you should be able to pass it on to other people. But the most common ways are using barazas, community barazas, using music, as it has been in the past, drama and all those ways. Yeah.
Yes, okay. I think that is well captured. Guys, we are time bad, and here at Vijana, we like to keep time because we have informed you where we were mobilizing you that we shall be stopping at exactly 4:30, so we wouldn't want to go past that time. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for attending. Those in Pakwach and in Bale, thank you so much. But I would also like to appreciate Godwin for the Twitter space. People have been following us, our conversation on your Twitter space, and I think it has really been good. Those that attended online, we want to thank you and appreciate you for the time that you have offered us. We really recommend that next time you do the same. In the same spirit, we'll be having several of this kind of engagement, and we really need your participation. So thank you so much for the team in Mukono, the ones that have come through, and of course, Godwin himself. You have really said it all. And I
Thank
believe,
you.
Yes. I believe there are a lot of lessons that have been picked from what he shared with us today. And of course, we will use the same, to transform our societies, our communities, and engage further. Because we've been engaging already, that's what we assume, because you're from different youth groups. So that being said, I would also like to encourage us who are here and those that are online, please continue following us. We're on social media as well. It's at Vijana Corps, Twitter, and Facebook, Vijana Corps. You can always go there and find out more of our work. Thank you so much. I'd like us to appreciate Godwin in a very, very special way. So, and that is none other than clapping for him for the time that he has given us. We are unable to see our colleagues in Mukono and Pakwach from this screen, but I believe they are still attending with us, and we would like to close, unless there's something very special we would like to hear from Mbale and Pakwach. Just one statement, either from the organizer, Ato Florence or Yusuf, one statement, and then we'll close it. Yes, hi Yusuf.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, I think that is it for Pakwach.
Hello, thank you very much.
Hello,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Yeah, our Pakwach team, we are very happy and we are thankful to Mr. Toko for the wonderful engagement. I could see the excitement on our faces, and we other young people had a lot to share, but because of time, yeah, it has limited us. But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Pleasure.
So we will have more of these engagements. We'll have more of leadership talks, leadership training. So encourage whoever's attended to the next time when we give you that call, please respond positively. We'll be bringing in more other people to share with us their stories. Thank you so much. I believe everyone is going to have a chance to take a group photo with us so that we can, use that for filing and of course for other, administrative work. So I'd like to invite you guys to the front. Please come and pose with Godwin. Pose with Godwin just for a group photo. Then we'll proceed to go and have our evening tea, which is ready, or refreshments.
I stand here.
I think we shall stand
This side, eh?
Yeah.
So I can just push this table behind. We are facing the lights, I think.
Yes, push behind a bit. Let's have people who are tall like me stand at the back, and then those pretty faces that are in front.
You just follow this curve.
Curve.
Just follow this curve. Don't be scared. And be closer.
If I'm taller than you, don't stay at the back.
Come a bit.
Forward.
But Godwin, you'll stand just right here in front of them.
Okay.
Abigail, where are you? Now the guys behind extend it up, get closer, squeeze a little bit.
I'm not blocking someone.
Yes.
Can I stand here?
Behind you. Just open for him space there.
Here.
He squeezes there.
Like this.
Open. Madam, there's space. Come on.
Are you okay?
The moderation.
Okay.
But I'm tall.
Yeah, according to
Which rule are we using? Okay, look at me, everyone. Yeah?
Oh, I hope I'm not obstructing.
Okay, big smiles, everyone. Say, Fene.
Fene.
That wasn't the right amount of penny. Say, Fene! Okay, Kali, I give up. Seems people are hungry. Kali, thank you. And one crazy one?
All right, thank you guys. From here, we are going to have some refreshments prepared for you.
Sure.
But before we do so, kindly take your seats so that we verify with the